But, you know, a lot of people said, though they like the project, this should really be my second film. Because it's very hard, it's very execution dependent. The performances have to be great, it has to look wonderful. And so people would say, go direct something else, and then people will know that you can direct a movie, and then you can get to do this one. And I sort of accepted that maybe that was right. But about 5 years ago, you know, I sort of just feeling very frustrated in writing in the studio system, and I decided to take another stab at it. And so we lived around the corner from Felicity, and we didn't really know her very well, but I kind of like wave at her, you know, when walking by her dog. And then I just decided to kind of bite the bullet, and I showed up.
Keep in mind, this is 5 years ago.
And I showed up with the screenplay, and I said, you know, I was like the geeky neighbor guy with the screenplay. I said, would you read my screenplay? And she was very gracious, and she said, yes, I'll read it. She called a couple days later, and she said, you know, I love this project, and I love this role, and I'd like to do it, but I know that you don't have your financing in place, and you might need an actress who has a little bit more juice. Literally, 2 weeks later, she's cast in the pilot of Desperate Housewives. So the juice issue was not. And she came on board for it, and then once she had agreed to do it, it was a little easier because people respect her. She's a fairly discerning actress, and so then we were able to go to Patricia through her agent. Now, the trick is, as a first-time filmmaker, is that is convincing people that they should trust you as a director, because obviously, you know, they like the screenplay, they see you can write, but they're not sure that they want to put you they want to put themselves in your hands. So we had arranged this meeting with Patricia Clarkson in New York, and there's a lot of pressure because you want to convince them that you can direct. And we met in this restaurant in New York, and it was in the middle of a heat wave. I mean, it was boiling hot. And the sweat is pouring off of my face. And I'm waiting for her to come to the restaurant, and I'm thinking, there's no way she's going to sign on to do this movie. I'm Albert Brooks in broadcast news. And she walks into the restaurant, and she takes one look at me, and the first thing she says is, my God, you're 12. I'm really screwed. But fortunately, we managed to connect, and I think there was a kids in it for her. She had a drama teacher that she was very close to, and so on. So once they were involved, then it was sort of, you know, people have such respect that we were able to track down the cast and get our financing. I wanted to communicate something about Miss Dodger and her character, and the idea that she's walking this fine line between possibly being sort of our world and possibly being of another world. And I think one of the great things about Patricia's performance in this film is that you buy her as both. I mean, she talks about her 10-year-old niece, you know, studying Stonehenge, and you believe that she's a real person. But then she is up on the catwalk at the end, and she disappears into thin air, and you believe that that's possible too. And I think it was fairly, it's a great tribute to her that she was able to walk that line and be believable in both ways. The larger thing that we can draw from that, or that I want to draw from that, was just how that blurred line between reality and fantasy. And I didn't want to feel like Dee Dee's fantasy life was so separate from her real life, that they are all kind of connected, and that there's something kind of magical about it. We shot it in 25 days, which is short, particularly when you're dealing with child labor laws. Very, very, very short. But thankfully I was graced with this cast, so we didn't have to do a lot of takes because the performances were bad. We were doing takes to give us choices. And then, in answer to your second question, it's a tough thing, and I think that's part of the reason that, you know, it's so tricky to find financing, because these films that are about children, but primarily for adults, are harder to kind of, they're harder to market. You know, there's great films like Searching for Bobby Fischer, Heavenly Creatures, an early Peter Jackson movie, obviously the amazing Fanny and Alexander. These films that are able to be about children and sort of speak about child's experience in a way that feels relevant to you as an adult. And I hope that that's ultimately what this story can do. Interestingly, you know, there have been, in the screenings, people sometimes bring their, you know, daughters. Sometimes their sons, but mostly their daughters. And it's interesting to see that everybody sort of, those girls from 9 up, so strongly identify with Elle's character, and I didn't really anticipate that, because I thought, there's clearly a narrative going on with the parents that's not that interesting to kids of that age. But there's something about, I think, her performance and her journey which really speaks to girls kind of 9 and up. So, look, it's an independent film, you know what I mean? I want everybody to come see it. I want absolutely everybody, any age, race, sex, anybody.